It is July 9th, just past Independence Day. So after that, I feel like everybody's really starting to ramp up for whitetails, at least us serious guys. Maybe not so serious guys as well. I shouldn't even categorize anyone like that. Anybody that loves whitetails is probably out starting to get ready. I feel like the anticipation is just starting to build this time of year. So I'm here at the farm. I am going to head out, hang a few reconics beforehand. I'm going to go through 3 of our habitat projects that we've completed over the last roughly year and a half, and just update you guys on how they're doing. I really enjoy that stuff. It's like kind of like the growing trend for me. I can't get enough of it. Bow hunting is obviously a blast and the end goal, but man, during the off season, which is the majority of the year, I'm loving this habitat management stuff. So I'm going to go through these 3 spots where we've done these projects and kind of give you guys an update. All right, here is the first one. Over here, we have what I would call a TSI unit, or FSI in this case, because I'm not so much worried about the crop producing trees or, you know, logging any of this. I'm more worried about the actual vegetation habitat on the forest floor. That was the main goal here. And you can see all of the sunlight hitting this versus over here what it basically looked like before on the other side of the road. So in here on the side of the road that I did this project on with the chainsaw and everything a year and a half ago, ran fire through it immediately after cutting these trees, and it responded greatly last year, but this year's even better. Much better response. Year 2, there's a very heavy presence of late boneset, a lot of other native plants in here. Got a little bit of locust coming in. There's one here, a couple more behind me, but those can be managed with fire. I'm not worried about those, but seeing all this late boneset. Behind me here is aromatic sumac that's exploding. It's like 8 foot tall. We got a bunch of ragweed over there and some partridge pea. So cool to see the amount of cover and food on the forest floor with what we did here. We removed the canopy pretty significantly. I would say 50 to 60% of the canopy was thinned out just through girdling the trees. I didn't, and treating them. I didn't treat the softwood like this elm right here, but treated all the hickory and a few other species in here, like honey locust back there. There's a big dead one there, ash tree over there, and left the majority of the oaks, which are some shingle oak and red oaks. There might be a white oak or 2 sprinkled throughout, but very cool to see. I'll go over here to the other side of the road and show you guys what I've done here in the last month. Stepped over to the other side of the road, and I was wrong. I thought this stand was similar to that one. That one's got a lot more diversity. I was in here probably 3 or 4 weeks ago and completed a hack and squirt, and it was raining. I was just going through hacking each tree and squirting, and not necessarily paying attention to how much hickory there really was. There is a ton of hickory over here. Probably 95% of the trees right here on this hilltop are hickory. You move over there, there are some more oaks and whatnot. But anyhow, with that, when I completed this hack and squirt, it was pretty cool. I mean, like I said, it was raining. It doesn't matter when you do it. It's just a matter of doing it. And came in here with my hatchet and my herbicide. I think my herbicide mixture was 50% Garlon 3A, 40% water, and 10% imazapyr. And that's quite the death toll to put on these trees. It was in June. Just came in, hit it with a hatchet. about every 2 to 3 inches around the tree's diameter, getting into that cambium layer. You're hitting it at a 45-degree angle, just getting inside that bark, and then immediately treat it with that herbicide, and it's killing these trees. You can already tell they're starting to, well, you can kind of see right here, they're already starting to turn black and brown. It's a good sign. So thinning this timber right now, it's currently in the process of dying. I would say that I hit 40% of the trees, and then I will return here in the winter with prescribed fire to just hit that natural reset button and just try to get native growth coming back in here strong as we've thinned the canopy. Pretty heavy presence of hickory coming back in. Hopefully there's some acorns that have made their way over here and we'll see more oak regen. There's some sedges, some boneset, buckbrush, handful of other plants in here, but it'll be interesting to see what this one looks like a year from now. So this part right here was completed about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Well, halfway completed. Once I run fire through it, will be completed. And the other one was about 1.5 years ago, but you can see the significant difference. This forest floor here does not have nearly as much growth as the last one that the other unit across on the other side of the road. But nonetheless, this is what I've got going on right here. It all leads out to a clover keeper plot. So the idea here is to hold more deer closer to the destination food source, or where we'll be hunting early season most likely. So we'll move on to the next one. So we are on to the other spot, or the next spot I should say. And this one you might recognize from our recent uploads. This is a bedding thicket that Chandler and I came in here and completed back in March. I did an update on this one, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. Well, we released the entire video and you could see the update in that video. So if you haven't seen it, here's another update about 3 weeks since then. And it looks about like it did, a little bit more growth. But I'll just kind of re-explain it if you haven't seen that video. And even if you have, I didn't quite hit on one thing. One thing that I wanted to touch on is, we call this a bedding thicket. Now, I don't think all of the deer are gonna just come in here and bed. That's not the purpose of this or the strategy of this. When I call it a bedding thicket, I think of it more of as a hot zone. And with it being a hot zone, our ideal strategy here is reducing that canopy significantly, 80–90%, through flush cutting, girdling, and hinge cutting, putting a lot more structure on the forest floor with more food and cover, so that bucks during the rut have to spend more time weaving through here to potentially find a doe that may be bedded up or just feeding in here that he's unaware of. With all this structure on the ground, it's much harder for him to cover ground faster. So he's going to spend more time in here trying to cover ground, weaving through all the structure on the forest floor to find that doe. On this ridge top here, we've got a Novik stand, and that's why we did this right here. It was already a great south wind stand, great rut stand, late rut or post rut stand. All we did was come in here and turn this good stand into what will hopefully be a great stand. On the back side of it, we hinge cut trees to the northwest and to the east. And the purpose with that was just to block off deer and deter them from going downwind. Because when we would hunt the stand, every so often we'd have deer going downwind and busting us. And with hinge cutting that V about 70 yards each direction, I'm hoping it's going to deter them. We will find out. We'll be here in a few months. What is it? It's July, so 4 or 5 months from now we'll be in this stand, seeing how much of an effect we made on this. I'm excited for it. It looks great, and I think the job is complete here. The only thing that I would redo differently here is, if we were going to do it again and on the other ones, is to just come in and burn first rather than burn afterwards, because we burned up some of those trees that we hinge cut and ended up killing the vegetation that was on the stems of those trees. But yeah, this is the bedding thicket that we completed back in March. We've got another one on the other side of the valley here. When I say bedding thicket, I don't mean deer are just going to all bed right here. It's just to create hot zones all throughout the farm, little 1 to 2 acre areas where bucks have to spend more time on the farm bouncing around trying to find the doe, in these certain areas. It's going to take him a lot more time to cover the farm if he's having to go weaving through each and every one of these. So this is a bedding thicket on a south facing slope. We will move on to the cedar thicket where I eradicated that this past winter and burned it off this spring. So I was on my way to the last portion of this video, which is the cedar eradication that we completed this past winter. And this is one that I drove through that we completed a little over a year ago. I hadn't been in here this summer. So this is a year and a half after, well, a year after we completed a cedar eradication area right here. The one that I'm getting ready to show you is one that we just completed. This one looks incredible. I mean, the vegetation is about waist to chest high. We've got sumac in here, aromatic sumac, lots of warm season grasses. I believe mostly little blue stem and some big blue stem. And it's phenomenal. But I'll get into the rest of that on this next cedar eradication area as we head over there. Ugh. Sure, some of you know what that is right there. Now I've made it to the cedar thicket that we eradicated this past winter. And this was just a monoculture of cedars. We did this last year as well on the other side of this entire cedar thicket. All in all, it's about an 11-acre thicket that we plan to completely eradicate. This is about 2 acres on the other side from last year that I started to knock out. So we've still got, gosh, probably 7 or 8 acres left. If we had enough manpower, it'd be done by now. And if I dedicated about a week to it, I could probably knock it out, and maybe that'll be on the list next winter. But anyhow, this is the first time I've been back here in, gosh, probably 2 months since I burned the cedars. So I cut the cedars in, I think, probably February, March time period. Then came back 2 months later, basically to the day, and lit them on fire in the spring. So about 2 months ago or something like that. And this is what's happened. Last time, which you can see in the video that I posted 2024 of June, I came in and took these stems, piled them up, and burned them. This go around, I did not. You can see them all kind of laying out there. Honestly, it reminds me of a forest fire that went through out west, and it looks just like that. But the response is so cool to see. There's a heavy presence of sumac. There's some warm season grasses coming in. There's some oak regeneration, partridge pea, all sorts of plant species in here, pokeweed. It's really cool to see. And there was some sweet clover when I first walked in here, and you could see the deer have just been hammering it, nipping it off, and plenty of other plants in here that they've been nipping on, but they're using it, whereas before it was just a monoculture of cedars, solid cedars, with essentially nothing on the forest floor. Basically no cover and no food at all, because that monoculture of cedars had drowned out virtually all sunlight, so nothing could grow there. Now, look at this growth. Pretty awesome to see. One thing that I noticed walking in here initially, which I only saw it on the fringe there when I first walked in, was invasives. And the invasive that we need to knock out here is Sericea lespedeza. And that's one thing I want to mention about all 3 of these habitat projects that I've shown you here. That's one of the #1 things you should address initially is invasive species, whether it be Sericea lespedeza, bush honeysuckle, autumn olive. There's a ton of different ones out there, but wherever you're at, that would be my #1 focus if I were you initially starting on habitat projects. Address those before you go in and open up the canopy, because if I don't get a handle on this Sericea lespedeza, it's going to take over in here since I've opened up that canopy and created a place for it to grow and take over. So addressing that would be #1, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you can check out, well, if you didn't, I'm sorry, then I'm surprised you're still here, but if you did, check out this video right here. This was the bedding thicket that Chandler and I completed this past March, And you can also go back and look at our cedar eradication videos and other habitat videos on our channel. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you all are having a great summer, and we'll see you on the next one.